大待ちよ。That's what we do. Fuck the community. We can hit shit.
Hello everybody, my name is Tamir, and welcome back to a brand new episode on the TNT channel, where today, finally, we are doing episode 2 of KamenRider ZO. But before I get any further, one quick thing. Hey Coda, guess what? KamenRider brought back two-parters. Come on, it can't be that bad. Like, everybody loved two-parters, right? Why? Why would you bring back two-parters? Nobody likes two-parters. You wanna know why it was just raining today? Because you brought back two-parters. Do I look like I want to see an episode where it's just about to get good, and then all of a sudden the monster escapes? So, oh crap, now I have to wait till next week. I was thinking to myself that if this show was going to be two-parters, then I was going to take a minute, or at least do a video of where I combine both episodes together so that I don't have to wait next week for resolution. But I changed my mind and decided to do it this way anyway. But moving on to the actual review, where we start off to where we left off with Zio and Gates fighting. Well, more or less, we see Gates fighting or beating the crap out of Zio, and Zio just taking the beating. But one quick thing that I almost forgot to mention. While Gates is using the ghost armor, they can do finishers with... Here's what I mean. For Gates' finisher using the ghost armor, their finishers are first called time breaks. So when it's used with Ghost, the finisher is called the Omega time break, because Ghost's finishers were called Omega drives, or at least that's used for his rider kick, to which I like. It's very interesting to see that when using one of the past rider Ghost watches. Now I'd like to see more of that, because that looks very interesting to me. But anyway, as Gates tries to finish off Sogo, Toskomi gets in the way to protect him so that Sogo could escape. Now, another thing to talk about right now, Zio and Gates' bike, the Time Strikers. It's alright, basically. I don't really know what to say about it, but I don't mind it. But another thing to talk about that I did not talk about last week, the Time Mazins. These are actually pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good. They have their own Megazords. But anywho, one thing from last episode that they finally get to do this episode. What's that one thing? Talking. With the whole running around, time traveling and whatnot, nobody decided to talk about the problem, and now they finally do. Toskomi tries to reason with Gates about hunting down Sogo and trying to kill him, and thinking, maybe he's not as evil as he seems. Yeah, Gates doesn't buy that and still proceeds to go out looking for him. But as Shogo finally gets away, he finally runs up to the fortune teller from last week and from earlier, who was Woes, who happens to be the overseer that is to see the upcoming of Omazio, basically making sure that everything happens the way it happens. So he's sort of like DJ Sagata from Gaim with that kind of role. And at that moment, he also explains the Time Jackers they are the villains for this season. Was speaking about the Time Jackers, the person from earlier who created another build is Wool, who happens to find the host on the ground, sees that the ride watch for another build is still functional, and then recreates another build, bringing him back to life. Real quick thing about Wool, and I want to say it now before it slips my mind. I read online that she might be the leader of the Time Jackers, which is pretty surprising there, honestly. So, another build's back, and he's out turning people into full bottles so that he can use them for best matches. And Toskomi sees another build and wants Gates to go out and stop him, but Gates just goes, fuck that, I have other shit to do. And yes, immediately, Gates already has a dick attitude. What a shock. You came back here from 50 years in the future and you're trying to kill someone who, in a way, 50 years in the future, wants to kill you. I sort of don't blame him, but still, don't really. So, as Wold stalks Sogo and meets him back at his house, because at this point, how he just follows him around, Waltz is just stalking him. He informs Sogo that Gates is still fighting another build, but Waltz is calling him KamenRider build, which doesn't seem right since that actually isn't KamenRider build. Sento is KamenRider build, but either way, Sogo goes out to go save Gates and Toskyomi, to where we actually see his rider kick. My thoughts on that is, it's alright, really. I really don't have anything else to say about it. The visual effects they're alright, and the kanji for rider kick down on his foot to come down, okay. Like, it's not bad, but okay. But, so, that's where we are. Sogo does his rider kick, and thought he defeated another build, but turns out he didn't, because it's leading up to something interesting about this episode and for the rest of the show. But as another build comes back, Sogo then gets the idea to go and see Build and Cross Z to go get their help. So he goes to the cafe. And as Sogo goes back to the cafe to find Build and Cross Z to get their help, we now have resolution on Sento and Rogo's life after the show. Hey, I'm just happy that Sento and Ruga aren't homeless. But anyway, they don't remember Sogo, and they don't remember meeting him. But after, I think, another build gets defeated another time by Gates, their memories come back, and Sento starts to get the idea of giving his ride watch and Ryuga's ride watch to Sogo, hinting to him to send his past self his regards. So as Sogo has both the Build ride watch and the Cross Z ride watch, he goes back to the battle, and he goes back to the battle, finds Gates, and then Sogo gets the genius idea of going back to the past, to 2017, to go defeat another build from there, since he's tied to KamenRider Build's powers, or basically everything Build, then he's also tied to the year that the show came out, which is actually kind of genius. They now have which is actually pretty genius. They go back in time for that reason, which is clever. So anyway, let's move forward, or at least in this case, let's move backwards to last year, 2017, where we got shows like Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel, which was shit. KamenRider Build came out, that was great. Jurassic, not Jurassic Park. Either way, we're back in time. We're back to last year, 2017. There is going to be one speculation, but I will get into that later. But for right now, and to quote Des Shinta Reviews, because damn it, everything is gay about this. So, Sento and Ruga transform, and they do so, but they realize they can't maintain their forms for much longer because this is happening in 2017, and because this is happening in 2017, where in 2018, like, Sento and Ruga have gave their powers technically to Sugo, to which probably has a negative effect, saying that they won't be able to keep their forms. So, Sogo and Gates get to the scene, and now, before we get to the fight, Wool then reveals herself to Zio, giving the backstory of the host of KamenRider Another Build, saying that he was an athlete who got in a car accident and which ended his athletic career. So Wool stopped time to actually save his life and make him a monster, so that they can alter history. Because here's the goal of the Time Jackers. They want to alter the past so that they can create a new king and let them rule over there. Sogo doesn't take it, and Wool leaves the scene for now as Another Build goes out to battle. And we now have 4 riders fighting together. It's a good scene, but Sento and Ruga can't fight for long because because without their ride watch, or at least without their powers, their suits begin to fade out. And at that moment, Sogo decides to use the Build ride watch and use the Build armor. So let's talk about this suit right now, the Build armor. It's alright. Like, it's not my personal favorite. For what we've seen so far, that's still the Ghost armor when it's used on Gates. But this suit's not bad. Trust me, it's not bad. If anything, it literally makes him look like a watch. But the weapon he does get, it's cool. Like the drill sword that's now become like a triclaw weapon. That's interesting. And the shoulders, like I said before about the shoulders, like they're just huge and bulky. And they're the full bottles, of course. But yeah, like I said, my thoughts on the shoulders still stay how they are. Like, if for the full bottles, it would be perfect if they were just a bit smaller, and it would be totally fine. But other than that, like, this form's, it's okay. For me, it's okay. And real quick right now, before the fight begins, using the Build armor, he says his monologue, "Rejoice, the future overlord is now a step closer to inheriting the power of all the Kamen Riders, and he is the first to actually use the power of a previous rider. Which is not true at all. I'm just saying, dude, your story's a bit off, that's all. But, anyway, Sogo goes out, fights the monster, as he about to beat them. At least he does know one thing from Build, for when he's about to do a finisher or something, when he's about to shake his bottles and use a form, the bottle shaking thing, he does have that, but he does it with his arm, the whole thing there. Like, I guess making the drill shake or something. Either way, we went from masturbating jokes to now fisting jokes. But it does the trick and defeats another build along with Gates' help with his weapon, which happens to be an axe and a bowgun together. Which is freaking awesome. Why has that not been a best match on Build? So, either way, fight's over, and Sogo gives, Sento and Ruga, I guess they're right, either their ride watches or 2 other ride watches. Because immediately afterwards, they lose their memory of Sogo. And this is something they probably mentioned earlier from that one snippet. But Sento is referred to as Takumi. So that's one interesting thing. But yeah. Sogo gives... I guess Sogo gives Sento and Ruga their ride watches, their powers back, so that the events in Build still happened, so leading onto the future, with that leading on to them in the future. So I guess his plan was to go in, beat the monster, get their help, and then give them back their powers so that the timeline so that the timeline is still okay and nothing broken at all. So, that was that. And with that said, Tsukuyomi and Gates are still unsure about Zio, not knowing if he's really a good guy or the bad guy from their time period. So to make sure, or at least to keep a closer eye on him, they move in with him. Seriously, they actually move in with him. That clock repair shop that his uncle owns, to which the name is the 9 to 5 workshop, they have a spare room or something so that now they can rent it out. So I guess that works. So that way they can be there. They can keep in contact with each other, and they can keep an eye on Sogo to see if he's really a bad guy or not. Well, get an ointment for that, dude. I don't know what to tell you. But overall, this episode was pretty good. The fact there's an actual reason to go back in time and actually time travel. Unlike in Den-O, where the Imogen just goes back in time to destroy shit and blah, 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 and do nothing at all that would actually affect its host's special or traumatic event. Instead, the only way to beat the monster is to go back in time to the year that the Rider Show came out to destroy him there, which was honestly pretty dang good. And which brings me to another thing. The show does have an addiction with giving out spoilers in its own episode. And yes, in the editing of this, I'm going to make as many jokes as I can from Nostalgia Critic's review of Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, because it's not inaccurate. It's freaking toys, toys, toys. You gotta sell the toys. Now, the speculation that I was going to say earlier for right now is that before starting this review, people did have a few comments about this episode saying that it was not good because it messed up build. Well, timeline-wise. But people keep seeming to forget that at the end of the show, when Build's dimension and our dimension fuse together, that's bringing their continuity right here. Not so much the events that's happening, but for Ruga and Sento being what still existed from that said dimension right here, bringing their continuity into ours. And the fact, which in a way does make sense, but the only last thing to question is how could dimension traveling and time traveling actually work together, since it is shown that the events in Build did happen in a different dimension. That's about it. But overall, this was a pretty good episode. There's nothing about it that I really hated, although there is still one thing now that I just thought about it. We still never got resolution as to how Gates still got the Ghost Ride watch. And next episode, which I will not get into now, but I will next episode. That has been my review of episode 2 of KamenRider ZO. Like, subscribe, and don't forget to leave a comment down below what you would like to see me review or next. Or if you have any ideas for content for the show, just leave it down below, and maybe I can do it. See you guys next time. Bye, everyone.